I just want to give you a quick update about what is unfolding in our dear motherland on this 20th day of March 2023, the day of demonstrations and protests against the government of William Samoei Ruto. Now, last night there was trouble in the Donholm area, which appears to have been contained. It seems like some Kenyans decided to start the protests early. Or were they doing a warm-up? Difficult to tell. However, this morning, the day started with frustrations for the Azimio side, and especially Azimio leaders. Now, I need to say, and I've said this before on this channel, that you can be very clever, but being clever does not always mean you're wise. Does not always mean wisdom. I'll come back to that in a minute. Now, the frustrations were from the fact that all the phones of major Azimio leaders were disabled. They could not use them. Now, this is a very clever strategy, because no communication means that you cannot communicate with your people on the ground quickly, to put the final touches to the demonstrations, to organize them. So communications were crippled. Now, of course, this is not constitutional, but then desperate times, I guess, calls for desperate solutions, even unconstitutional ones. There was another very clever strategy that seems to have been adopted by the police. The idea is to stop people gathering in large enough crowds, and therefore you stop people from entering the CBD. And therefore there has been very heavy presence in areas in Nairobi where protesters are expected to come from in large numbers. Kibra is at the top of the list. Kangware is another place, and other slum areas within the city. Now, this has created a problem, because, for instance, in Kibra, although police were able to block people from leaving and going to the CBD to demonstrate, it actually provoked the population in this area. That means that people even who are not planning to participate in the demonstrations now were forced to be part and parcel. So they've been running battles in the Kibra area. And of course, as one would expect from such a situation, there have been injuries, casualties in the form of injuries. I don't have any other information beyond that so far. There was also an incident at the KICC. This is where most of the offices for the senators, leaders, elected leaders, are situated. And people like the ODM Secretary General, Edwin Sifuna, were tear-gassed as they tried to address supporters. I guess trying to get them organized for the peaceful, constitutional demonstrations. Of course, what we can read from all these developments so far is that it's going to be very, very difficult to keep those demonstrations peaceful. Because, for instance, in Kibra, the people are provoked. At KICC, you can say the same. But what do you do if you're a government trying to stop the people? I guess this is to be expected. And so in a nutshell, so far, very clever of the government. But is this wisdom? Because it is possible to be very clever in many battles, but you end up losing the war. For students of history, this has happened very many times before. A good example is the Second World War, where Hitler won battle after battle after battle, very sensationally, but he lost the war. But there's something else unfolding that is super fascinating. Where are the Azimio leaders? Well, we have received reports that Martha Karua has been surrounded by a large contingent of policemen. Yeah, I guess that is to limit her movements. But then, the rest of the leaders, Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, etc., etc., it seems their whereabouts, their locations, are still unknown to authorities. At least at the time of me recording this video. We of course wait to see what will happen as the day continues to unravel. We also know that there are very serious protests in Kisumu. Now, YouTuber Lee McQueenie, one of the first subscribers to the Kumekucha brand years ago, you can check his channel, because he's on the ground. And so if you're in the diaspora or very far away from Kenya and you need to know what is happening in Kisumu, I would recommend the Lee McQueenie channel. Now, there have been skirmishes here and there in the CBD. There was a very large gathering along Luthuli Avenue. You know, Luthuli is the place where the electronics, they sell TVs, etc., etc. Yeah, that street that goes right downtown, Uko River Road neighborhood. For those who know Nairobi well, that street has been very busy, very crowded with protesters at one point. But so far, it seems the police have been able to keep the situation under control. For how long, nobody knows. It is interesting that along Moi Avenue, there was a skirmish that caused some of the shops to quickly close. And I was more than a little surprised that some shops on Moi Avenue actually opened. Probably these are Kenyans who are not familiar with maandamano in Kenya. Na kunaendanga aje. People have no idea. I guess sometimes you look into social media and you take in UDA propaganda. Everything is okay. There's no problem in Kenya. Kila kitu iko sawa. We won the elections. We have the majority of supporters, etc., etc. I guess the people open shops have that kind of thinking. And I'm praying for their safety. Because in times like this, things can get hairy very, very quickly. I'll of course be giving you updates as we go along, as many as I possibly can. And I just need to remind you about the latest WIB which is out. Hopefully I will do other WIBs going forward, especially concerning what is happening in Kenya right now. There are one or two very sensitive issues that have emerged that I'm gathering for a brand new WIB. So I highly recommend you take advantage of our latest special offer. Details on your screens right now. There was a very famous movie called All is Quiet on the Western Front. And therefore today I can say all is quiet on the Nairobi front. But the truth is, they are running battles, skirmishes here and there. And also, watu wanapigwa kipigo ya mwaka. In some areas, the usual way the police handle demonstrators. Of course outside the law. Because if somebody is unarmed and is not posing any threat, kwa nini sasa wachape? It's not right. But that is Kenya for you. Until next time, this is Chris. Kumekucha.